You have to do what makes you happy. At night, when you go to sleep, you shouldn't be stressing because you got to wake up the next day and go be around people you don't want to be around,
Yes,
So that's
ma'am.
my big thing. It's just helping people live a fulfilled life,
Wow.
like we talked about regrets. When they look back at their life movie, that's what I call it, and you're like 70 and you're sitting in your rocking chair, like, are you going to see, oh man, I failed a couple times, but I tried this, I tried that, that worked, that didn't work? Or are you going to look and be like, dang, why? Why didn't I at least try that? Like,
Yeah.
so many people are afraid of the unknown,
Yes,
And
ma'am.
it's like, once you get past that fear and you just take that first step, it's like
Yes,
something
ma'am.
happens.
Oof.
And when I say that something, is like God meets you there.
Hey, Entreleaders. Happy Wednesday and welcome to another episode of the Leaders Lab podcast. If you are new here, I am your host, Dr. Charity C. Campbell, better known as Dr. C, and I'm a doctor of management, a world-class millennial global leader, an academic professional, and multi-passionate entrepreneur. Here in the Leaders Lab, we talk all things entreleadership, communication, and balance as a millennial professional. Now, when it comes to our lives, we often find ourselves in situations where we feel like we have no control. We worry about the future. We worry about what might happen instead of actually living in the moment. And so today's episode is all about how to let go of that control and to live a life without regrets. For so many of us, we hold on to things that we shouldn't, and it ends up costing us dearly. We allow these things to consume us and to keep us from living our lives to the fullest, that more abundant life. And most of all, we allow it to stop us from simply getting started with our goals and with our dreams. Well, our esteemed guest is sharing with you how to get started, how to release control of situational outcomes, and to live a life with no regrets. So go ahead, grab your cup of tea, your cup of coffee, whatever it is that you need to go along with your notes, because you're going to want to take some notes today, okay? You are going to want to take notes. And let's get into it. Tyreen Taylor is the owner of Wise Walk Virtual Solutions, an agency that provides assistance to companies, businesses, and executives in discovering and hiring qualified virtual assistants. And Tyreen holds a background in working for the federal government as well as in education. She is recognized as a dependable and highly recommended trustworthy business owner. Tyreen went to Warner University, an independent Christian school located in Lake Wales, Florida. Now, in addition to owning a company, Tyreen also has a powerful and uplifting and motivating podcast where she helps listeners take the limits off of their thinking and alter their perspective. Tyreen is also an author of an interactive book to help guide others through the process of gratitude and live a more grateful life. But most importantly, this is the thing that I love most. She is a child of God that lives her life in faith. So, Entreleaders, without further ado, please help me welcome to the Leaders Lab none other than our esteemed guest for today, Tyreen Taylor. Welcome to the Leaders Lab, dear.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm sitting here listening to the intro like, hey, is she talking about me? Thank you.
Yes,
I appreciate
that. It is my pleasure. You were actually the first person that responded. And I was like, oh, she is on it. Like, she is quick. she is quick. And I started reviewing her stuff and I'm like, wow, she's a beautiful soul inside and out. So, I definitely want her on the show. So I'm very happy to have you here. You have this agency, like this company now. And I noticed, like, when you got on, I was like, oh, she's showing off. She got her company shirt made.
You gotta come represent.
I said, sis is official. You hear me? Yeah. She got it together. And I love it. So tell us, like, How did you get started? I mean, you have this agency now where you're helping people, you're helping, companies and businesses find high quality virtual assistants. But how did you get started in this work?
So I love that question because I always tell people, honestly, I feel like I was forced or pushed into it. And I say that
Wow.
because, like you said, in my background, I come from a background of working in the federal government. And
Hmm.
one day I had a medical injury happen and I had to resign from the federal government. At that point, I
Wow.
had no idea, what to do, how to do anything, other than hey, you had this career, you had your retirement set, you had everything already
Yeah.
planned out. And then this happened. So I sat for a while and just prayed, like, God, what am I supposed to do? How am I going to get income? Like, what's
Yeah.
next? And I couldn't work in any place because of the injury. So I'm like, okay, I
Wow.
have to do something from home and something that's flexible that I can do when I feel okay. So I reached
Yeah.
out to background again in childcare. I reached out to an old boss and asked if I could do some of the things I used to do in person, but virtually.
Hmm.
And this was a few years ago. So this is before COVID when, virtual wasn't a big thing. So
Yeah.
he was reluctant, but then he said, okay, yes, let's try it. So I started small. I started doing small things here and there and then started building up more skills. And then he actually encouraged me to make it an actual business and get other clients. So I said, okay,
Wow.
tried it, ended up loving it. And then from there, more clients kept coming. And I realized, okay, hold on. One or two things are going to happen. Your quality is going to suck, which I don't support, I'm not okay with, or you're going to be capped. And I'm not, we're millennials. I don't want to be capped on anything.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
so I'm like, okay, think of something. So I thought of, okay, let me create a team. So I tried it. Honestly, I matched one person with a EA and it worked. Like the match was perfect. I took my time, learned from that one, did a second one. Then when I did the third one, I realized I'm changing my whole business model. I'm not going to be, the EA. I'm going to focus on getting clients in, getting them with a really awesome match. And then that's honestly how I started. And now I'm just thinking back to, whoa, I wouldn't have even thought anything virtual if I was still, where I was. So
Yeah.
that's my story.
Wow. Now for our listeners and viewers who are tuning into the episode and they're like, what's an EA? What is an
Yes,
EA?
I'm sorry. And I always have to break it down because I come from that world. So, but an
Yeah.
EA is an executive assistant. So it's two. So you may be familiar with VA, which is virtual assistant,
Yeah.
but we just transitioned to calling all of our VAs EAs because we work with executives now. So I feel it's only right that they have the correct title of
I love
virtual
it.
executive assistant.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So you started off with just you. When you added on another person,
Mhm.
I mean, I know you said, you started off so you took your time with them, but I mean, did you assign them the exact same task? Did you train them or were they already like, experienced? Like what was that? What was the process, I guess, for that?
Sure. So I started them off as my VA. So I didn't really need one, but I'm like, okay, let me
I
see
love it.
what you can do, because this
I
is
love it.
something new. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let me match you with me and then I'll give you tasks, we'll meet. And then that's literally how I was able to come up with so many ideas. So like I figured out, hey, you need to make sure you check in with your client at least once a week,
Hmm.
like on the phone or video. It's a must because being virtual, sometimes communication gets, messed up or
Oh
lost
yeah.
and you may not feel supported.
Yeah.
So I love what I do because I've been in all the roles. I've been the client, I've been the EA/VA. So
Yeah.
now I call myself the matchmaker, so I can see both sides. So when I'm matching them, I know what to listen to from the client because I know what it's like being an EA and what type of client you want.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now how do you find your EAs to train? No, you train them. You train them
Yes.
with everything. Okay. So
Yep.
how, whew, you got a lot on your plate. I mean, do you require them to have at least some type of experience, or they can be completely new?
So I'm big on experience, but I'm also big on attitude, right? So, and
Mm,
energy. So if you come
mhm.
in and you're like, Tyreen, this is new, this is just a new path I really want to go down. I've never been an EA before, but I feel the energy because I'm a people reader. I don't know if that's a real thing. I made it up, but I can read people
No,
and
that's
feel
good.
the
Yeah.
energy even through Zoom. So if I'm talking to you, it normally probably takes like 5-10 minutes, and I'll feel it,
Mhm.
and I'm like,
Mhm. Mhm.
no, I'll work with you. If you really want to invest your time, I'll train you. I'll pair you with someone. You can shadow another EA until you feel comfortable, and we can try it. Like
Mm.
let's just try it. So I'm big on that. So even if you come with 10 years of experience, but I don't feel that energy, because that's what we
Mm.
we sell too. We want
Mhm.
our clients to feel good with their match. Like we don't just pair you with an EA and then just let you go. Like we want your
Right.
EA to be more of a thought partner, especially with our women in leadership. Sometimes it's lonely at the top, and having your EA, someone you can pick up the phone, like, oh, I just had a rough day. Sometimes it gets to that relationship.
Wow.
Sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes, building that EA relationship because they're in your email, they're doing your calendar, they probably sending emails for you. So you
Yeah.
become, you build that relationship and that bond. So it's important to me that that energy is there, and people are
Mhm.
like, what type of energy? I'm like, I can't explain it, I just have to
That
feel it.
has to
If
be
it
the right
feels
one.
good,
The right
yes,
one.
if it feels good, I go with it. And I'm happy to say, thanks to God's grace, I haven't been wrong. Like I've turned
I
some
love it.
people away and it was a good decision. So
That was actually going to be my next question. I was going to ask you, have you ever had an applicant or a prospective EA that you were just like, this isn't really going to work out for you? Like
mhm.
this is not the opportunity for you, or possibly a client that you may have had to turn away and say, our services aren't really going to work out for you.
Yes, I'm so glad you asked. So yes, on both sides. So with the
Wow.
EA, it was just, and she kind of knew it, honestly, but she just lost interest. Like being an
Yeah.
EA, it's fun, but it's a lot, because you're literally
Yeah.
like you're in someone's world, like when you're
Yeah.
there, especially our executive clients, like that do like the larger packages, and you're doing like 4 hours, 3 hours a day. Like you're
Hmm.
literally in everything pretty much. You're attending meetings with them, you're supporting them, you're booking travel. So it can become a lot, and sometimes
Yeah.
you just get out. So she kind of felt it, and it wasn't even energy wise, it was just work wise. She just started to just, she didn't give that care like she used to.
Yeah.
So it was tough, but right when I started my sentence, she was already like, yeah, I know what you're gonna say. I'm just tired. And I'm like, that's fine. Like go
Yeah.
take a break, unwind, get your mind right and come back. Like you're always welcome if you want to, you know?
Yeah.
And then as far as clients, I love that question now because at first, being honest, I used to accept everybody, like,
Taking
oh, you
everybody.
you want an EA? Come on, like join. But now we're very selective because we want to
Wow.
match energy too with the client, not just the
Yes.
EAs, because we want our clients to be happy and satisfied, but we want our
Yeah.
EAs to be the same. Like we want this to be like a career for them, not just something they do, when they get off of work or things like that. And in
Yeah.
order for them to enjoy it, we have to have clients that appreciate them, and that are grateful to even have them. So I did have a client who, even from the beginning, and energy. I should have listened from the beginning, but I'm like,
Yeah.
well, it's a client. They want to sign on. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And I should have known better, but now I know. But we did have to end up terminating the contract on month 2 because of it. I don't want to say disrespect, but they just didn't show care, or regard
Hmm.
to the EA. And one thing about me in any position, whatever I'm doing, I always want people to be treated fairly. Like
Yeah.
that's big for me. And I don't like for anyone to feel less than or talked down on. So we had to end it, and they were, a little upset, but I'm like, I'm sorry,
They were
but
in their feelings, weren't they? They was
yes,
in their feelings.
yes. But I gave really good feedback, and I'm like, there are other companies out there, but I just don't think Wise Walk is for you, because we're really building something deeper than just, oh, here's your EA, go ahead on about your day, do whatever you want. So they understood in the long run, and I hope they were appreciative of the feedback.
Now listen, I don't know if you know this question is coming, but I have to ask this question.
Mhm.
Why Wise Walk? Like, where did this name come from?
I love that question too. So one day, like years ago, God just placed that on my heart. And like, if you look back at anything I've done, like I used to have a mentor program for young girls, and I named it Wise Walk Mentoring. I used to have a weekend childcare business in high school, and I named it something Wise Walk.
Wow.
And I don't know, I don't know. Like, God literally spoke to me. I'm talking probably like more than 10 years now, and came up with that name, and it's just stuck with me. So like, my podcast, it's not even about the EA matching, but it's still called Wise
Yeah.
Walk Podcast.
Wow.
And to me, I prayed a while ago and just asked for kind of clarity, like, what does that mean? And to me, it just means that you are choosing to walk wisely. Like, you are choosing, like, to wise walk. Like, you want your life to be, based on God's will, and you want to walk in His word, and you're going the right way. So that's what I take from it. So anything you see, like my book, the gratitude workbook, is called Wise Walk. I think gratitude workbook, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just stuck with me.
I love it. I mean, so you literally any type of business or idea that you've had, it has always carried the Wise Walk brand.
Yes, yes. And I
Wow.
always ask myself, I'm like, well, what if you do something else that is not related? I don't know, like literally, and I know we'll get to that point, but literally, I don't worry about, you know, all of the extra, the outside stuff, because
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
God is going to like just come. It's going to pop up, the ideas just come.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So here you go. You have this business now, or not even just a business, but you have this agency now
Mhm,
where you are matching EAs and executives. You're
mhm.
matching people together. Did you ever think back then when you were laid off from your government job that this was going to be your future? Like this was going to be something that you were going to be doing?
No way. Like, I could tell you no in all caps. Like, no. Like, when you're younger, or even when you get older and you're in college and you're like planning out your life, and you're like, okay, these things that I like, these are careers that I could possibly do. If
Yeah.
you ever said matchmaking agency, EA agency, I didn't even know what a VA EA was when I was working in the
Wow.
government. So no,
Wow.
absolutely not.
Wow. I mean, just from the smile on your face, I could tell that you really love it though. Cause I was gonna
Mhm.
say, do you enjoy it? But I mean, I feel like that's a given. But what is your why? Like what is your why overall for continuing with this business?
Mhm.
Even after the pandemic. Now I'm gonna tell you, I know during the pandemic, you were probably happy that you
Right?
listened to the voice of the Lord early
Right?
on because you were like, this doesn't negatively impact me. If
No.
anything, how did your business do during the pandemic?
Oh, it definitely was a huge increase. Like, it was
Wow.
a huge increase of new clients. Current clients stayed on. Some of their business kind of did suffer, but
Yeah.
they know the value that we bring, so they ended up staying on. And thank God that they got out. And they're back
Yeah.
on top. But
Wow.
back to your other question about my why, I always tell people I have two. So one of my biggest whys is I have two young daughters, and I really want them to see, like, just because you have a big thing happen in your life, like, it's not the end. Like, you can pick your pieces back up and you can just keep going. You know, like it may be a
Wow.
whole different path, but it's going to work out, you know, and I'm glad
Wow.
that this is that topic, because I definitely want to talk more about that.
Yeah.
And then my second why is I really want to change the way we do business, right? So I always put do in parentheses because I know it's not, you know, proper grammar. But, you know,
It's
the
okay.
way our society is like, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you got to grind, you got to hustle, you got to work 16, 17 hours a day. Yes, you probably do, but you don't have to do it alone, you know?
Mm,
So like
I
our
love it.
EAs are coming, like I told you earlier, to be that thought partner, to be that person that's helping you tackle that to-do list so that you can make it home for dinner. You can make it to your kid's soccer game, you know? And I just most recently changed our business model to really, really target women in leadership positions. At first, it was just all
Wow.
executives, and we still support our men, but we really want to support the women. And I've changed it because I felt that just kind of, you know, just placed on me, which is women have it a lot harder, especially being in a leadership role. And you are a mom, you're a wife, you know, you got to come
Yeah.
home and take care of the house or take the dog out for a walk and things like that. And then you start to experience the burnout and different things like that. You start to feel alone. And then my goal is to really, like I said, change the way women in leadership positions do business. They get support from us. They get that
Mm.
support that they really need, because sometimes some of these women and men, they're on the verge of giving up, you know?
Oh,
And
yes.
then
Oh,
they
yeah.
come to us and they're like, oh my gosh, Tyreen, like, wow, like this gave me life again, you know, like this is my passion, what
Wow.
I do. But when you do it for so long, and especially when you're not making quick progress and you're working that hard, you know, it starts to do something to you mentally. You start to feel
Oh,
defeated,
yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
So that was a long kind of around the block. But one
No.
of my other reasons why is I really want to change that. You know, I want these business owners and executives to feel supported and know, like, you can have both. You can have that thriving career, that thriving business, and you can have a personal life. Like, that's what you get
Wow.
your EA, those tedious tasks, like, oh, I got like 100 emails today in one day. Let your EA do it. You know, even though you want to go home and sit on the couch and do it, like, just give to EA. Enjoy your family time. When you come back
Wow.
tomorrow, you know, knock out whatever else you have. So those are my big whys.
So has it always been easy for you with this business?
No, no way. No, you know, it's going
The
well
look on your
now.
face, the
Like,
look
no
on your
way.
face was just like, no. I mean, because
No.
I'm not gonna say that it doesn't. You just make it look effortless. Like you know, the way you're talking about it and like you're passionate about it. Like you just
Yeah.
make it seem like it, you know, like it was effortless, which is one of the ways that I know when someone is really working in their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It, you know, no matter how difficult things are, like it's still the thing that they would choose above everything else, you know.
Yes.
Um, so you said no, it's not always been easy for you.
No, and I would never sell a false dream like that to make anybody think that it's easy. There have been many sleepless nights. There have
Oh
been
wow.
many crying days. Like,
Oh wow.
no, it is not. But you said the key phrase, which is when you are operating in your purpose and you're doing what you're
Yes.
passionate about, those
Yes.
hard days get washed away with that drive and that purpose and passion that you have inside of you. Like hearing
Wow.
clients when we do the check-ins to see how things going, hearing clients say, "Oh my gosh, like it's so much weight lifted off my shoulders." Like that
Oh.
washes away if I only got 2 hours of sleep because I'm stressing, thinking about this, and that, you know?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's what makes it worth it. You know, just seeing those clients and, you know, getting the emails, or even our EAs, like having an EA message me and say, "Oh, Tyreen, I'm loving working with this client. You know, he's teaching me different things." Like that excites me. So that's what keeps me
Wow.
going. You know, now some days when I'm like, man, am I doing the right stuff? You know, but for the most part, the the good outweighs the bad for sure.
So how do you keep your EAs going when things get tough? How do
Oh,
you,
goodness.
and also how do you keep your clients like from saying, you know what, I'm just going to stop the contract? Because I can imagine, because clients, they can be clients and workers, okay, clients and people, just people. It can
Yeah.
be a hot mess sometimes. And when
Yeah.
things get tough, when things get harder, things get tough. Not everyone has the same mental capacity as the visionary, which in this case is you. So how do you keep both of them? How do you keep the EA and how do you keep the client going, like, to inspired when things get pretty hard or tough or there's a bit of conflict and they just want to quit?
I love that too. Because it happens a lot, and it's honestly more so on the client side than the EA side, which I'm grateful for. But especially with our business owners, our clients that are business owners, business goes up and down and they get stressed. And the first thing they want to do is call and say, Tyreen, I'm gonna put in my notice. But I am very blessed that I'm still trying to figure out what it is, but I'm really good at just kind of walking people through scenarios, and I've been figuring out too, like my purpose is really to help people find direction, right? Like I feel like that's what, God created me to do, one of the many things. So when they call and they're like, Tyreen, I need to cancel, we literally have a conversation. Okay, why do you want to cancel? What's going on? And then literally most times I help them figure out a better method to go around it, Sometimes it's a no, let me just go ahead and, cancel, which is okay. Sometimes it's not working anymore. But overall, I'm here to really be that, kind of sounding board for them, like when they are going through that rough time, because it's always money. In this business, the client wanting to cancel is money. It's like, I'm struggling this month and, things like that. And then on the EA side, I really don't have, only maybe a few times. And it's when the clients are a little difficult to work with. And it's not even in a bad way. It's more so the client doesn't really know how to delegate. So the EA feels kind of lost, kind of just like, well, they're not giving me anything and I keep asking. So we just talk through it. Okay, EA, I'm going to give you this worksheet, give this to your client, work through this with them. And I guarantee you, they're going to have like 10 things for you to do now, so be ready. So it's all about communication. And that's what one of the things that Wise Walk prides ourselves on is being that, I guess, middleman, like we're here for the client and we're here for the EA to make sure both parties are satisfied and happy with the assignment.
I love that. And I was going to say, like, I can absolutely imagine that there is some, there's some difficulty that could happen, or, people, like I said, people, okay, it's just people. And especially when you are dealing, like you said, with business owners, it fluctuates. Some months you got a lot of income. Some other months it's like, okay, I'm glad I still have the other income from the fat months, the big months, because in these here lean months, I don't know how we're going to survive if we didn't have it. So I could see how, one of the first things to go, they would probably think, well, my EA is not, what is it? It's like, it's not a necessity. So we can drop that. Like, how they start.
Yeah.
They start dropping stuff off.
That's what they say. Like, well, I went down my list, Tyreen, and it's other things that's more important. And we go right back through. I pull back up their pain points and say, well, remember, you contacted us because you were working 12, 13-hour days. You want to go back to that? I get it. I get it. The business does fluctuate, but so that is the up and down.
That's smart though.
Relate.
That's smart to go back and help them to remember their pain points, because the only pain point they're probably thinking about at that time is the money. They're not thinking about all the others that affect them actually making that amount. While they're dealing with that. Wow.
Yes. And then some clients, even though I do it and they're still like, oh, I want to cancel. A couple of weeks later, they call back and was like, you was right. I really do need, I need my EA back. Can I have her back? Like, please,
Yeah.
I'm like stressed out. And now, they don't understand, like, yeah, the money got low, but it's going to get lower because you have less time now. You don't have that extra hand.
Yeah.
You forget those
Yeah.
things that your EA was working on for you. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So, here you are, you have Wise Walk, and you've been growing in the grace of God. Your
Mm-hmm.
business has been continuing to flourish both on
Mm-hmm.
the EA side and the client side. And you said it's not always been easy for you,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you help others? I know you were and we were talking about this before, how you have a podcast, and you said your even that is called Wise Walk, even though it doesn't have anything to do with the virtual solutions.
Yep.
But so how do you find time to still inspire and encourage other people while
Mm-hmm.
you're running this business and you're doing all these things?
So that is a major for me. Like, that is one of my big priorities in life,
Okay.
period. So I am a certified mentor. With
Okay.
SCORE, it's like, it is a part of, I don't know if it's a part of, or kind of just like an umbrella of the SBA, which is Small Business Administration. And they
Mhm.
offer a free mentoring program. You don't have to have a business. You can just sign up for free, and it's all over, it's in different states, different cities, and you just
Mhm.
sign up. So that's one way that I do. So I have I really lost count, but I do have a good number of mentees that I love meeting with, because they're like eager to get into business, or some of them actually already have a business and just use me, just for ideas and things like that.
Wow.
My other way that I give back is the podcast. Like, I really, every week, I try my best to post every week. And just to kind of encourage people and just to kind of uplift them. And then I love that you asked that question, because God has put on my heart for a while. But when you just push something to the side and you're like, okay, God, I hear you, but okay. But he's been telling me, like, to start really getting out there, put myself out there, and start doing like speaking engagements to really, help people. And because I'm big on, you hear what the podcast is about. I'm a dreamer, a visionary. I'm all about live your best life. Like,
Yeah.
you can do it, even if it sounds
Yeah.
crazy. Like, I want to be that person that if you hear, you're like, okay, no one else believed in me, but Tyreen said I can do it, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
am starting down that path of trying to figure out, where should I be speaking at? Who should I speak to? What message should I deliver? So that is next up on my
I
list.
love it. I love it. And you do know that people can find you from your podcast, right? Like, there are people
Yes.
who would probably listen to your podcast and they'd be like, "Oh, we want her for the women's conference, or we want her
Yes.
for this workshop," and all of that stuff. Girl, I'm just
Yes.
speaking that into your life. That's all.
Thank you. I
I'm just
appreciate it.
speaking that because
I would love that.
doors
Yes.
definitely open.
Yes.
Doors definitely open, and you never know where it might come from.
Mm-hmm.
So and then too, not just your podcast. You said you have an interactive workbook where you
Mm-hmm.
also inspire people. So you're finding like different avenues to still inspire, motivate, encourage,
Yes.
the audience. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So I wrote it during the pandemic, because during the pandemic, I know a lot of people suffered, with mental health, because you're stuck in the house. No one knew what was going to happen, or how things were
Yeah.
going to, pan out. And I'm like, gratitude is what, I can't say always, but a lot of the times it gets me out of those little funks that I may be in. And I'm like, okay,
Yes.
well, let me just make something super easy. It's a 22-day gratitude challenge. So every day you go in, you can write inside the workbook. And each day is a tip, it's a quote, and then you write, I think it's either 3 or 5 things that you're grateful for in that moment. And you do that for
Mm-hmm.
22 days, and you'll be surprised. Like, it literally does something to you mentally. I'm not a pro at it yet, and I can't say like, oh, scientifically and things like that, but I just know you feel good. Once you
Mm-hmm.
complete the challenge, you feel good, because people don't understand that gratitude is really what brings positivity into your life. Like, you could be having a bad day, and then if you just stop and write down 5 things that you're grateful for, it does something. And,
It
it's
shifts
like,
that
oh,
perspective.
and it could be small things. Like, I go detail. Like, I am grateful that I have all 10 fingernails that I can go to the nail place and get painted. It's like
Okay.
little things that people don't really think about. And they're just thinking about the big picture, like, oh, I'm so upset because this happened and I'm having a bad day. People have bad days and that's okay. But doing that is, it helps.
Now, why 22? That's one of the most random numbers. I'm sitting here, I'm like, 22 days, 21 days I get, because it takes 21 days for it to happen. 30 days I get, 7 days, 10 days. I'm like, she chose 22 days. Like, I know there has to be, you didn't just one day wake up and say, you know what, 22. I want to do 22 because nobody does 22. I'm going to be the one that does 22. What's up with the numbers, sis? Like,
so our anniversary, my husband and I anniversary is August 22nd. And 22nd has just randomly turned, I say 22nd, 22 has randomly turned into one of my favorite numbers. And 7 is my other favorite number, but I'm like, it got to be more than 7 days. So I'm like, I'm going to go with 22. So that's where it came from.
Okay. Because I was like, 22. Now, come on now. I mean, I would have thought you're like, okay, 21 plus, a bonus day or something like that. But she's like keen on this at 22. She's like, no, we're doing 22. But I get it now. I see.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interactive workbook. How? Like, is it ebook, digital? Like, how is it? Or is it only on a website? Like,
so you can get it off of Amazon. So you get it from Amazon, it ships to you, and then you can just write inside of it. And you just write out, your 5. It's honestly been a while since I looked at it, but I think it's either 3 or 5 tips. I mean, like 3 or 5 lines for you to actually write what you're grateful for on that day when you're in the challenge.
Wow. And what made you create this for other people instead of it just being like your own journal?
So really my daughter, she was, I want to say 4 at the time, and she wanted to write a book. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. I told you no limits, so she wrote a book. Her book is on Amazon. She wrote about being a big sister. And during the pandemic, because we were home and she wasn't in school, I really started to teach her a lot about gratitude. And then she randomly said one day, Mommy, you need to write a book about gratitude because people need to be nice. And I'm like, wow, you got a good point there. Like, let me try it. And then it just turned into an actual book. I got it published, and I'm like, wow. It wasn't something planned out. It wasn't something where I'm like, oh, for years I've been wanting to do it. It literally was like, hey, I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to do this. I don't know when the pandemic is going to end, so I'm going to try to do it as quick as possible. So yeah, that little one encouraged me.
Out of the mouth of babes. Mm-hmm. That's what that is, out of the mouth of babes. I love it. So, what do you see? And I know you might be like, I just got to this point where I am right now. But, as a visionary leader, we always think forward. So for you, what do you see is next for you in business, in ministry, just in life in general? Like, of course, we know the public speaking, the paid speaking gigs are going to be coming. We speak those things, those speaking opportunities. But what is next for the wise walker? Like, that's you. I'm calling you the wise walker. But what is next for you? What is next?
I love that question. And always started with Lord's will, because you see what happened when I was in the government and had this whole great plan, so Lord's will, Wise Walk Virtual Solutions will be thriving. Like, we will actually have a whole bunch of full-time admin staff that, eventually they'll be able to learn how to do the matches and then, take less off of me. And then really ultimately the podcast will be thriving, reaching people around the whole world, really impacting people's lives. And then ultimately it's the big thing, like you said, which is the speaking. Like, I I feel that that is one of my purpose in life, which is to just go around the world and really
Yes.
impact the lives of others. And I always explain to my husband, I'm like, hey, I don't want to be just no like, oh yeah, we went to her speech or her conference and it was good. Like I want people to leave when they're like, I'm about to change my whole life. Like I'm going to go after
Yes.
whatever it is that I want. Like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then they actually take steps to do it. Like that, wow, that would like, whoa, you see the smile because I'm like that right
Yeah.
there would really, that would just make me so excited. And I am excited, and my little sister actually really pushed me and inspired me to really figure out this whole speaking stuff, because for years my husband and I, because she's a swimmer, and my husband and I have
Okay.
been telling her for years, start your business. Like you can do it. Like you don't have to work at people's swim school. Like you can make a whole swim school yourself if you want to, but
Wow.
start your business. Like you know how to, like, well, she's amazing. Like you know how to teach people how to swim. So let's start your business. Like I'm going to help you. Like here, this is how you get your LLC. Let's do your business plan. Let's figure out your website, all of that. So for years, she just would hear me talking. And then finally, it was like she woke up one day, switch went off, and she called and she's like, I'm going to start it. And I'm like, you going to start what? She's like, I'm going to start my business. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I'm all in. So she finally told me the other day, she said, if it wasn't for me and my husband, she wouldn't have done it. And I'm like, wow, like that really touched me. And I realized if I can help her, how many other people can I help? So now that's visionaries. My wheels are turning, and I'm like, yeah. And then it doesn't even have to be, starting your own business. It could be if you want that big time position and you may be afraid to apply for it, because everyone is an entrepreneur. I never sell that. Like you have to do what makes you happy, what makes you smile at night when you go to sleep. You shouldn't be stressing because you got to wake up the next day and go be around people you don't want to be around.
Yes,
So that's
ma'am.
my big thing. It's just helping people live a fulfilled life.
Wow.
Like we talked about regrets. When they look back at their life movie, that's what I call it. And you're like 70 and you're sitting in your rocking chair and you watch that movie, like, are you going to see, oh man, I failed a couple times, but I tried this, I tried that, that worked, that didn't work? Or are you going to look and be like, dang, why? Why didn't I at least try that? Like
Yeah.
so many people are afraid of the unknown.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's like once you get past that fear and you just take that first step, it's like
Yes,
something
ma'am.
happens.
Oof.
And when I say that something is like God meets you there, I always get
Yes.
chills when I talk about it. But it's
Yeah.
like when he sees that, like just like with my sister, he saw that she's finally serious. She's booked and busy now. Like she does it full
Wow.
time, full time.
Wow.
At the age of, how old is she? 19. She's 19.
Wow.
She's a
Come
full time
on.
entrepreneur. And she always says, I say, I need you to
Wow.
come on stage one day when I'm up there to tell people. She's like, I'll do it. And she's doing it. And I'm like, other people can do it too. It doesn't matter your age. Like I tell my 6-year-old, like whatever you want to do. Like she's already talking about, okay, I want to start this business. Let's do it. What do you want to do? Like why can't we try it? It's okay.
Yes.
She
That's a
she is,
dangerous little girl right there.
Yes,
Oh
I
my
tell
gosh.
people I laugh because she came home one day when she left school and she said, Mommy, I asked my teacher today, when can we start making some money? I said, what did your teacher say? She said when we turn 18. I'm like, your teacher's awesome, but that's not true. We can
That
start
ain't it.
right now. What you want to do? And I
Yeah.
told her, I said, you already made money. You have a book. People still buy it today. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're right. So it's like, I don't know. I put like the other day, I wrote down, I'm like, call me crazy, but I really think everybody can live their best life. And best life means whatever it means to you. It doesn't mean
Exactly.
you're rich, you're famous, and all of that. Like, it doesn't have to be that. It could be you can make it home in time for dinner every day and you can actually unplug. It can mean you're
Yeah.
present with your spouse. It can mean you do have that business, or you get that new contract, whatever it is, I think everybody can do it. They just sometimes need a little bit of help. And that's what ultimately I want to do. I want to be able to do.
And they also have to believe it, like they have
Yes.
to believe it, because that's the thing. Like, I'm a firm believer of be it unto you according to your faith. Like I can't have the faith for you. I
No.
can't, I can encourage you, I can inspire you, I can believe in you, but I can't believe for you. And that's the big thing right there that I think a lot of people are missing. Those who are just dreamers but not doers, because you can't just dream it. You got to do it too.
I love
And
that.
I think that's one of the things I love the whole, just the spirit of your daughter. I love it so much. And how, like, you told her, no, you're already making money. What would that do? Think about what that could actually do for her, to see that someone told me that I had a limitation, but when I went home to my mommy actually showed me that limitation is false. I'm already doing the thing that I asked you about. That's powerful.
Exactly. And I love that you said that, which is, I keep feeling, in my spirit, right, that is like really helping people find what they're missing. Some people that may be listening to your show, they may not have someone in their corner or in their whole life that is an entrepreneur. So they may think the only way is to just do what everybody else is doing. And then you end up being miserable. You can't. Yeah. You have to live your life for you. Even if I help one person, you know what I mean? Like, that one person is going to impact other people. They're going to share their story, and then it just keeps going on.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's that chain reaction, that inspired chain reaction. I absolutely love it. And I'm super excited to see what does come from Wise Walk. I'm very, very interested in seeing, like, what happens over the next 3 to 5 years. Definitely. I'm definitely following the journey. I'm going to be following the journey for that. Like, I really think that's awesome. I will ask you one thing before I ask you, like, my final question. Well, at least I think it's my final question, because this has been so good. Like, I just been digging. Like, this is good.
Yeah,
but I noticed that the only social media platform you are on is LinkedIn. There's no Instagram, there's no Facebook, there's no Twitter, there's no TikTok, there's no YouTube, none of the other things that I saw. Was that strategically for you, like a strategic decision, so that you could stay focused on your goals and not be distracted? Because social media is a distraction. I love it though, but I have a love-hate relationship with it.
Me too.
But so, was that intentional?
Yes, it was. So I do have Facebook and Instagram. I just have my profiles up, and you'll probably see me post on special occasions. Like, I post for my birthday and Mother's Day, but you probably won't see me post again probably until the kid's birthday, which is in September. I realized about like a year and a half ago, when I was on social media, I was wasting time, especially Instagram. And I'm like, I'm on here, and I noticed it because if you have an iPhone, at the end of the week, I don't know if it does it for everyone, but it sends me my screen time for that week. And when I was on, I looked and it said how many hours I spent on Instagram, Facebook, email, everything. And I looked and I'm like, no way. There's no way I'm giving Instagram and Facebook this much of my time, and it's not producing anything for me. It's not giving me money. It's not rewarding because I'm not helping people. I'm just scrolling, for no reason. And then that's when I'm like, no. So I stopped posting, period, for almost a year and some change. And I just came back just to post, here and there. And then I love Facebook groups. Like, I get everything from the groups. They give me life. So you will see me in the Facebook groups, but I'm not going to be scrolling, like on my timeline. But LinkedIn, I call it my playground. It's like my playground, because I'm like, yes, you guys are giving me business ideas. You guys are giving me connections to get to people. I'm able to share about, what Wise Walk does and how we're changing, executives' lives. I've gotten a lot of our current EAs from LinkedIn. I've gotten clients from LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is giving me more than me scrolling. So yes, it was Very intentional.
Yeah, because LinkedIn is really more so for producers rather than
Mm-hmm.
consumers. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
all the other social media platforms, they're definitely for consumers. I
Yes.
always tell people, I said, stop being a consumer and start
Yes.
producing. But it's so easy to get into that trap. When I get
It
stressed
is.
out, when I'm overwhelmed, or when I just really need a bit of motivation, I like laughter. I like comedy. So
Mm-hmm.
I will go right onto Instagram and I
Mm-hmm.
will go to Tony Baker because he does the most hilarious voiceovers when it comes to
Yes.
animals. And I go right to his page. And the sad part is I go for like one or two videos.
Mm-hmm.
You just one or two to get me
Mm-hmm.
laughing, to get me going. And I also look at Spice Adams
Mm-hmm.
because those two are just crazy. And the next thing I know, it's a whole hour that's gone by.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if my thumb realizes I was only supposed to be there for
Mm-hmm.
like 7 minutes. And that's a
Right.
long time.
Right.
But my thumb just be like,
Yeah.
I be like, what are you doing?
I
Involuntarily.
know.
Like, so why didn't you just decide to, you know, instead of just not using it altogether, why
Mm-hmm.
didn't you decide to say, okay, you know, maybe 1 hour a week, or, you know, this, that, I will do that instead of just stopping it altogether.
Because I'm not that strong like you. The thumb is going to just keep scrolling. I set in my head an hour. Next thing you know, it's an hour and
Half
30,
a
2 hours
day.
later.
Half a day.
Yeah. I
Like
don't
what?
have the willpower when it comes to that avenue yet. So I'm just like, it's all or nothing. Either I'm in or I'm out. So I had to
Yeah.
choose to be out. And then not only that, but it's just certain stuff you see it. Like I said, I'm gonna learn one day, like, scientifically and all of that. But it does something, it makes you
Yeah.
feel a certain type of way depending on,
Yeah.
who's posting. So even before I went off, I started following a lot of like spiritual pages. So I would see scriptures and things like that, which
Yes.
were good.
Yes.
It helped. But then you'll start seeing like, I don't like to see, and I know it's like, well, it's the world, like the negative, like, oh, this
Yeah.
person broke into someone's house or it's a robbery,
Yeah.
someone died, and I'm
Yes.
just like, it's too much, like I
Yes.
have a
Yes.
limited amount of capacity for negativity.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
yeah.
You said it perfectly right there. A limited capacity for negativity.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
what that is. A limited capacity. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
because when I see it or hear it, I start feeling it. And then it
Yes.
impacts the rest of my day, my
Yes.
business, the people that I
Yes.
talk to. I'm supposed to be pouring positivity into them, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm full of stress or,
Mm-hmm.
remorse or,
It's
regret,
hard.
just
Yeah.
sadness. Like even just the mass shootings. Like I saw that there were 13 mass shootings over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what are you calling a mass shooting? Like, I have to know. And so a
Right.
mass shooting is when 4 or more people
Mm-hmm.
are either dead or injured. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, and this was all in the States, and I mean, I was like, you know what, Lord, I can't consume the
Yeah.
news today. Like it's a lot. So I
It
love what
is.
you said, limited capacity for negativity.
Yeah,
I
and you
believe
know
that
what?
that's how you
I'm
stay
gonna write it
focused.
down. I'm gonna write that one down. That's good, right? I have to use that for a caption or something. I have a
Yes,
limited
ma'am.
capacity for negativity.
Yes,
Wow.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so I'm going to make sure that I use that, like
Mm-hmm.
this part right here
Mm-hmm.
specifically in, well, I'm going to tag you on Instagram.
Yes. Like, go ahead. I'm on there. I see your
I'm going to
tag. I
tag you on
see
Instagram.
it.
I know you're not using it, but I'm going to
I
tag you
see
on
your
Instagram,
tag.
because how else will people know who you
No, I
are?
will.
Like,
I will. I will get on just for you to see the tag. I promise.
oh my gosh. But yeah, I'll tag you. Just
Okay.
for the promotion of this, of course. But people need
Yeah.
to know, like, about that, the limited capacity for negativity. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What you feed yourself is what you focus on. So
Yes.
wow. Okay. Tyreen, this has been amazing. I have one last question for
Yeah.
today's powerful episode. What is one characteristic that every leader must have?
If I had to pick just one, I would say it's hard to pick one, but I'll pick one and say they have to be determined. It's
Mm.
not easy. It's really not. And if we had a different episode and I could tell you about all of the speed bumps and everything that I have, and I won't even say had because I still go through them, like even
Yeah.
with my injury, like I suffer from chronic pain every single day. Like most people don't know.
Wow.
But if you are determined and you know that you want this bad and you want something like bad enough, you have to be okay with the speed bumps and the roadblocks and the holes, like the potholes and everything you may fall into.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to be determined that nothing is going to stop you. And it's okay to
Wow.
pause, you know, because like I'm telling you, there's many a times where a couple days where I'm just out, you know, I'm just like, I can't even pick up the phone. Like, it's rough,
Yeah.
but I am determined to make this work, to be successful, to make a living for my family, and to show others that it's possible. Like, you can have your whole life planned and God will come mix it all up, and it's up to you how you respond. You know, so if I didn't have that determination, I don't really know where I would be right now.
I 1000% agree about him coming and shaking up your whole life. You be thinking you're going to do one thing and he'd be like, nope, no, freeze.
You see my face
freeze.
Is like,
no. Yeah. But I'm so glad that his plans are always bigger and better and greater than ours. Even during like the rough transition part, you know, from your plan to his plan, there is a transition, and it's a bit rough because it ain't, you know, but it's not as bad as it could have been had you not just submitted to his plan. So,
and it took a while.
I'm so grateful.
But we'll save that for another episode. But it took a
because you're coming back. You are coming back.
Thank you.
You are coming back. Oh, yes, ma'am. You will be back in season 3. I'm letting you know already.
Thank you.
You coming back in season 3 because we gotta find out what's happening with Wise Walk. Yeah. We have to hear so much more. And by then, I just, I speak and decree that you will have already had a speaking engagement so we can we can get that good update. I mean, listen, I'm here for the progress, sis. I'm so here for it. So
love it. I love it. I appreciate you so much.
You're so welcome. Now tell the people, how can they connect with you? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Please connect with me on LinkedIn, guys. I am actively engaging on LinkedIn. If you follow me on Instagram, you can. I'm not going to be on. You may see me pop in and out. Facebook, I love it. Same thing. I mean, honestly, Facebook, just do Instagram if you have to choose between the two. But definitely LinkedIn. Send me a message. I am like really interactive. Like, I write you back. I love to know who you are and things like that. So LinkedIn for sure.
Excellent. And for those of you who are listening and not watching the video version, you can also check the show notes because I do have her website and also her email address. And for those of you who are watching the video version, you can see right on the screen how you can get in contact with our Tyreen Taylor. Thank you so much for being in the lab with us on today, gorgeous. I so appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I had so much fun.
Me too. And listen, listeners, I hope that you all, my fellow Entreleaders, that you all have enjoyed this episode as well. You know, we're going to have her back in the lab now. You know, we have to, because I really hope that the content that she shared, that you found it valuable, if not as much as I did, or more. And so I hope that it helps you in your journey to becoming a better Entreleader, your journey to stepping out, to releasing the need for control, like trying to control your path, your career, and just going with God's plan, going with the flow. And if you haven't done so already, you know that you can also connect with me on social media. Everywhere I am at DrCharityTV, even DrCharityTV on LinkedIn as well. And don't forget that you can subscribe to the Leaders Lab podcast. Download today's episode because you need to listen to this thing over and over and over again. Don't forget to rate, comment, and share so we can continue reaching millennial Entreleaders all across the globe. I'm so full. I've really enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you all next week in the lab.
Thank you for listening to the Leaders Lab podcast. Visit our website at www.drcharitytv.com.